This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We just concluded the weigh-in ahead of Fight Camp Week 2 tomorrow with me, promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, everyone in, weight made, business tomorrow night.
Yeah, no COVID this week, which was a result. Great night planned, great weigh-in, nice bit of drama, nice bit of action. Some surprising numbers on the scales, I thought, as well, and can't wait for a massive night tomorrow on DAZN.
Let's just touch on the main event. We saw Jazza Dickens and Kid Galahad there. Kid Galahad got the towel out, took his kicks off midweight, second attempt. Nice intense face off there, but we've talked about that, how that first fight means very little. They've done some sparring since as well. Does all that just go out the window tomorrow night to count for nothing?
I think so, but we can't forget how good the first fight was, and obviously that's important going into a second fight, especially when you're selling it. So I just think it's a tremendous fight. You know, two Brits going for the world title here, a massive fight for both of their career, big fight for British boxing, and a great fight as well. A little bit of mind games, I think, making Kid Galahad. You know, he was 126 and flickering 126.05. So Derry and the guys, quite rightfully, made him take his cacks off, and he made the weight comfortably, and we got a fight. So really looking forward to that one tomorrow. For me, it's one of the best fights of Fight Camp. You know, can't wait to see, and two great teams mean so much to everybody. So it's a cracking fight.
Two quite different styles they've got. Sometimes it doesn't gel, sometimes it makes for a better fight. Do you think it'll be the latter tomorrow?
I do, actually, because I think it means too much. So you're not going to get a fight where, you know, both guys are sort of messing around and trying to nick bits and pieces. For Jazza Dickens, he has to come out ferociously and try and dictate the pace of this fight, try and win rounds. Kid Galahad, very clever, you know, can punch as well. You know, he stopped him in the first fight, but Jazza was ahead in that fight. And I think one thing Jazza will want to do is get Kid Galahad out of his rhythm early and try and win these early rounds. And I think it'll be a ferocious pace as well, because this is it. This is the one shot for both of them to go and win a world title. And beyond this, it really does, you know, I know we say it sometimes, but it does change their life. You win a piece of that world championship, the huge nights await.
Alen Babic came up here in full savage mode, had the mask on. Him and Mark Bennett were talking. Mark Bennett pulled his mask, and then there was a couple little slaps. What was going through your head in that very moment?
Just keep it at slaps, please, and no one chin anyone. I mean, firstly, Mark Bennett weighed 60 pounds more than Alen Babic. I mean, that is a huge amount of weight, huge amount of weight. Can I ask you a question? How much do you weigh?
I'm not prepared to answer that on here. Absolutely
I'll
not.
tell you, right? I'm just under 18 stone. I weigh more than, I think I weigh more than Nick Webb, right? I weigh more than Johnny Fisher. I weigh more than, I look at these guys and I think, how am I mean, I must be so out of shape to weigh more than you, you know. And then you look at Mark Bennett, who weighed in at 19 stone 4. And then you've got Alen Babic, who weighed in at, what, 210 pounds. I mean, he's given away 60 pounds of weight in this fight. I think this is a really, really good, dangerous fight. Mark Bennett is not phased in the slightest. You've seen people come into the, you know, the bubble and this environment and been a bit sort of overawed by Savage. Mark Bennett, not in the slightest. This is a really interesting fight. And, yeah, Savage, you know, had a little slap, got one back a little bit harder. Luckily, everyone dispersed. Looking forward to that tomorrow night.
Now, the big question mark, well, Alen Babic, as you brought him up to him yesterday, wasn't particularly happy with it, was what happens when he's been thrown in the kitchen sink and the opponent's still there? Is that what Mark Bennett's got to try and find out tomorrow?
Well, everyone keeps saying that, don't they? They look at Alen Babic and say, we think after 3 or 4 rounds he'll gas out. But when you speak to Sam Jones and Joe-Joyce, and you know, I think they were doing 7, 8 rounds of sparring, you know, he's non-stop. I think it's more about what happens not just when you run out of steam, but you throw the kitchen sink and it's not working. What Babic has done in all his fights is pushed the bigger man back. I think sooner or later you're going to get the bigger man not going backwards, and I think that could be Mark Bennett. And at 19 stone 4, he's in shape, and he shouldn't be going backwards. He should be taking the middle of the ring and pushing Alen Babic back. But it's going to be an absolute firefight. And you know, I think it's a very, very. I mean, all these fights are dangerous for Babic because of the size. But this is particularly interesting, this fight, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Fabio Wardley, we talked about the danger of this Nick Webb fight tomorrow, but he does get that win, a very good win on this stage as well. Is he sort of knocking on the door for British title?
Yeah, he should really be, but I think, again, this is another 50-50 fight, a great heavyweight fight. Fabio's giving away £30 to Nick Webb, which isn't, you know, unusual in the heavyweight division, but it still has to be an advantage. Fabio is quicker. Nick Webb punches harder, in my opinion. Nick Webb has a lot of confidence right now, coming off a good FIFA win, but Fabio looks full of confidence as well. Another really good all-British heavyweight fight, and I'm really looking forward to that fight. I think it's fascinating. I hope we get rounds, because both guys have the ability and the power to end it early, but I'd like to see that one go deep, and I think we're going to get a great fight.
I spoke to Sam Jones yesterday here. We're talking about JoshuaJoyce, obviously getting that mandatory spot after Alexander Usyk. He said to me he thinks the next WBO mandatory for JoshuaJoyce for the Joshua Usyk winner could be called as soon as spring. Does that seem a bit early for you?
Yeah, no, that's not possible. It'll be I think it depends if he goes up to Super Championship. I would think they'll make the winner Super Champion with the WBO, and then it'll be 18 months. But ultimately, look, I think when it will come is after the 2 Tyson Fury fights. I think that's, you have to go through the chronological order of mandatories. So after the WBO, you have the IBF mandatory or the WBA mandatory, then you have the WBO mandatory. But I think everyone's sensible enough to say, let's just see if Fury can beat Wilder, and hopefully AJ beats Usyk, and then we just make those 2 fights. And then after that, I think the belts will go up in the air, because I think the winner of those 2 fights will just turn around and say, I'm not doing mandatories anymore. Like, I've won, I'm undisputed. Let me enjoy myself and go out and box around the world and take the fights that they want to take, because AJ's spent his whole career being told who to fight by the governing bodies because he's wanted that undisputed so bad.
I was just hoping to give us an update on Khan-Benn, obviously ruled out last week with COVID. You said that Leeds was going to be the target. I'm sure I heard you say yesterday you'd spoken to him quite recently. Is that looking the most realistic thing right now?
I think so, yeah. I mean, at the moment, he wants to just, get down the gym and train, and obviously he has to finish his isolation, and he's actually tested negative a few days ago now, so he's good to go and good to get back in training next week. And I think Leeds is realistic. It's 4 weeks this Saturday, and part of me on a big stadium show like that would love to add Ben Granados, because you'd have Warrington Lara, Katie Taylor, Jennifer Han, Conor-Benn against Adrian Granados, Maxie Hughes against Straffon. I mean, it's a brilliant night of boxing. So I think most likely is that Conor-Benn will fight in Leeds.
For you on a personal level, I know you've had a crowd in Gibraltar and you had these big Canelo crowds during COVID as well, but now we're starting to see these capacity crowds in the UK. Leeds will be a good night. Anthony Joshua's just sold out stadiums. Does that give you that extra bit of buzz as well?
It does, because when you're on a run and that run gets broken, you often wonder when you return, is it going to be the same? And the answer is absolutely, and probably more so. I mean, we've done about 16 or 15,000 in Leeds so far. We've got 4 and a bit thousand to sell, of which will all go over the next 4 weeks. 65,000 at Spurs. These are all sold out here at the Fight Calendar. We've got a dozen tickets left next week. This Saturday is sold out as well. So people want to get back to live events. People want to watch good sport. People want to watch great boxing. So it's nice to see, because the danger is that people get used to not doing that and don't want to do it anymore. But I think the Euros was big for that, because I think people enjoyed seeing that kind of atmosphere in the sweet Caroline, and people want to go out and enjoy themselves, watch great sport and have fun. So great news that tickets are selling so quickly, but we have to keep putting on great nights.
Someone who's been in the headlines overnight, Amir Khans, has said he wants to come back and finish his career in the UK. He wants to have a few final fights here and then call it a day. Have you got an interest in working with Amir?
Yeah, I've spoken to him. I mean, look, I don't see him having a couple more fights. I see him having one more fight, and I think Kell Brook and Amir Khans sort of look at that and say, let's be honest, our careers, are basically done. Should we fight each other and make a few quid? It's still an interesting fight. It's not the fight it once was, but I'm sure Amir will look at the options, and Kell Brook, it's always been a big fight for both of them financially, and now there's no other options for either guy. So other than Conor-Benn, I'll start looking at that fight and say Amir Khan should look to fight Conor-Benn, because I believe he makes more money in that fight than he does to fight Kell Brook. So hopefully that could be a possibility. But I do think Amir will box again, and we are talking, and he's been a tremendous servant to British boxing, and he deserves to do whatever he wants to do. And if that's to fight again, then good luck to him.
We've spoken about Khan-Benn before. It had a bit of momentum a few months ago. People getting really excited about talk of that fight. If Conor-Benn is all well and comes back and wins in September, is that fight you will be making an offer for?
Massive fight, massive. Look, Brook against Khan, obviously the rivalry, but when you talk about young gun who might be much too early for this against, really a legend of British boxing in Amir Khan, that's a tremendous fight. It's a crossroads fight. I love those kind of fights, and I don't think Conor's financial demands will be what Kell's are, because Conor just wants to fight. He wants the opportunity to fight Amir Khan. Kell just wants the money. So if the money's not there, he won't bother. But you've got a young, hungry lion in Conor-Benn that, of course, he's going to want to make sure he gets paid well for that fight. But it's not just about the money for Conor-Benn. It's about going out there and fighting a great fighter like Amir Khan and proving himself. So for me, the big fight is Khan-Benn against Amir Khans. But first things first, take care of Granados, and then maybe we look at that for the end of the year.
Eddie, final word. Obviously got fight camp. We've had every kind of weather in the last hour. We've been in here. It sounds like it's going to take off. We've had rain. Any concerns about thunderstorm tomorrow night?
Loads of concerns, as we do every single night. I mean, last week, as Coogan said, he'd never seen rain like it. We stood here on the Friday. This is tropical compared to what we saw last Friday. I mean, I've never seen rain like it. It is a bit on the windy side. It says on the forecast that at 4 p.m. tomorrow, it will stop raining. Please God. We've not actually even had rain yet, even at the last fight camp. It's just a couple of drizzles. But if we survive Saturday, it'll be a miracle. Next week actually looks clear, which would be a nice way to finish for Buatsi against Bolotniks. But I'm sure plenty of drama on the weather and even more drama in the ring. Do not forget to tune into DAZN on Saturday. It's going to be another cracker.
Well, Eddie Hearn, thank you as always for making time for Boxing Social.